everybody, and welcome back. He's Mr. Connor. She's Julie. I'm Barbarino. No, wait, he's Epstein. I'm Horshack. She's Hotsy Totsy. This isn't Welcome Back, Connor. It's Vikings Report with Drew and Ted. Drewster, how are you?
Oh, episode 40, Ted. Well, they tease him a lot because they got him on the spot.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
What a great show, dude.
It was. Toonces, how are you this fine evening?
I'm doing good. I have, instead of a joke today, I have a limerick. Do y'all want to hear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ted and I love limericks, man. You know that.
All right, here we go. There once was a coach named Zimmer, whose playbook got slimmer and slimmer. He gets shredded by backup QBs. Dan Campbell will bite off his knees as the season gets dimmer and dimmer.
Yeah!
Ding, 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 ding.
That might be one of the greatest moments in Viking Report history.
Right there. That is the limerick to end all limericks right there. It's not going to get any better than that.
Oh, let's roll that into I'm cooler than you are. So why don't you fix your little problem, Ted Glover, and light this candle?
He's right. Light this candle.
Yes. Resume the countdown.
All right, I'm cooler than you are. Why don't you fix your little problems and light this candle?
He's right. Let's light this candle.
He surely is. Light the candle.
Yes. Resume the countdown.
Oh, this show gets better and better.
Thank you to everybody who joined us on the live show, Ted, and especially shout out to you for the great job hosting. And let's shout out for Christopher Gates again. I don't know if Chris watches these studio shows, but damn, what a great addition he has been to Vikings Report, our live shows.
It was a bad game, great night. Whole lot of viewers, whole lot of new fans, I hope. Thank you. But it all came at the expense of the Minnesota Vikings, who lost 20-16 to the Dallas Cowboys and a backup quarterback named Cooper Rush. And the fallout has been like nonstop since the end of the game. We are delaying recording a day because we were so bummed out about the game. I mean, we just neither Ruby or Drew or I wanted to even deal with it yesterday. It was just it just made us all just angry and pissed off.
Why the hell was that so heart-wrenching, Ted?
You're not dying. You just can't think of anything good to do.
That loss was just heart-wrenching.
We're going to hit that later. Hold that thought. I'm going to ask you a question that leads into this later. But for now, where do the Vikings go from here, Drew? I mean, they're 3-4. They got the Ravens game, which we're going to preview. And by the way, we got a big show. We're going to preview the Ravens later. We got Drew's question. We got a hashtag nobody cares about your fantasy segment. We got trivia. And we got maybe a special guest doing our introduction for our game preview. But we are going to give trivia questions to Toonces after she's been plunking us for a month and a half. Oh, how the tables have turned.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Yeah.
Anyway, but where do the Vikings go from here, dude? They're 3-4. They got games against Baltimore, the Los Angeles Chargers, both on the road. Then they're home against the Packers before they go back on the road to face San Francisco. Where do the Vikings go? What to make of this team?
Man, oh man, we talked last week about running the gauntlet and how important it was to get off to a win. And we were kind of iffy if Dak Prescott played, if we were actually going to have a shot at this game. When they named Cooper Rush and said Dak was going to be out, that became a must win. You got to win that. The play calling was maybe the worst I've seen in 40 years of Viking football. It's a long time since I've seen inept play calling like that. Just the whole thing rolled over. You could feel the loss coming. The more Dallas hung around. And in the past, under the Zimmer regime, this is the type of game they bounce back from. After a loss like this next week, which is this week, they bounce back from it.
Mm-hmm.
Which they've done in the past with Seattle, the Saints. They seem to pull a big win out to make people scratch their head and go, maybe Zimmer isn't done. This feels a whole lot different, man. It's went over the edge.
It did. And, we kind of, you, me, and Chris discussed the ins and outs, the specifics of the game, and just how inept the offensive play calling was, how the Vikings defense couldn't get off the field. We talked about all that. So please, by all means, go back and watch Vikings Report Rewind that came out October 31st, just a couple nights ago. But what was kind of lost, and this has sort of developed over the last couple days, during his post-game press conference while we were on the air, and I didn't see this, you'll remember, at the end of the first half, the Vikings just botched their drive again. And the big holy crap moment was Kirk Cousins running and getting a first down, and there was not a lot of time left. And they had one timeout left, but instead of calling a timeout, Kirk tried to get everybody lined up, and they just ran out of time. They had enough play for a Hail Mary, and that was it. In the post-game press conference, this is what Kirk Cousins said about that timeout when asked. He said, I just let Zim handle the timeouts because I never know quite what the coaches want to do with what they're thinking, a play ahead or what that may be. So I was just going to let them handle that and call the next play if one came in. Now, the following day in his press conference, Mike Zimmer said this because he was asked about the timeout situation and kind of relayed what Kirk had said the day before. That's my fault. There was a miscommunication. He has the ability to call a timeout, but that was a miscommunication. I won't get into it, but that was a miscommunication. We were trying to get on the ball, and the receiver lined up wrong and took too much time. I don't even know where to go because on the one hand, you have a coach not knowing that he should call a timeout, or you have a quarterback who feels he doesn't have the autonomy to call a timeout because he's waiting for the coach to make that call. Discuss amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves.
They tease him a lot. I feel like Arnold Horshack. Ooh. It sounds like one guy blaming the other. Ted, we're at week 9. You should have the preemptive 2-minute protocol worked out already. This is what we're going to do. If this happens, if running play, if this happens, the timeout, that's just, I don't buy any of that stuff, man. I mean, what are you doing out there? But it sounds like one guy blaming the other. When I was watching it, I was going, what the hell are we, like, no plan again? It reminded me of that Tennessee game with no plan again. Just out there running around with no plan. And then they throw that 5-yard square out to the tight end and he gets tackled in bounds. What good is that? That's giving up. That's terrible. That shouldn't even be involved in it.
No.
There's no communication. What happened to I watched tape with Mike Zimmer and we sit around and have popcorn and we watch the game, the tape. What happened to all that? Remember 3 weeks ago? We watched film together?
Yeah.
Is that still, that's not happening anymore, I guess.
Apparently, for all the film they've watched together, they've never discussed who should call a timeout or when.
Maybe they're watching Welcome Back Kotter reruns and not watching the game.
It feels like it would be more productive than whatever the hell it is they're doing in Eagan right now.
What's your take on Kirk? Should he just put his hand up and say, screw you guys, I'm going to do what I want? Because
yes,
is he
absolutely.
Is he that in tune with the offense and Jefferson and Thielen where they can all kind of go together and say, screw the coaching staff, we're going to do it together? Are they that together? Are they that bonded where they can do that?
If he's not, that speaks to a lot more problems than just who should call a timeout when.
Like Tommy Kramer used to. I'm not running that. I'm not running that play.
Tommy Kramer had a tweet, and he said, look, Kirk should be able to call his timeouts. I remember one time playing somebody, and Schnelker called in the same play 4 times, and I changed it every time. And I got back to the sideline, and Schnelker said, what are you doing? He said, you call that play, and you go out there with a 260-pound linebacker on you. And he said, Schnelker told him, Tommy, I'm never going to question you again. That's
leadership. That's quarterback leadership right there.
In 2009, Brett Favre would blow off Brad Childress when he didn't like the play and would call it. The fact that you're telling me a 10-year veteran who was brought in specifically to win the Super Bowl doesn't have the autonomy to call a timeout, or doesn't think he has the autonomy to call a timeout, whose fault is that?
I don't know whose fault it is, but you're not the guy. If you're not willing to do it, you're not the guy. Get out. You're not the guy.
I think it's a dual problem with Zimmer and Cousins, and honestly, they just need to get divorced. Quit staying together for the sake of the kids. Just figure out what's going to go on and go your own way, because whatever this is, obviously is not working for anybody.
Ted, if you see something that's not going to work and you're of the quarterback status, which is you're the captain of the offense, you run the damn offense. If you see something that's not going to work, but you're scared because the head coach is going to get mad at you because you don't run it, then you're not a leader. You're not the right guy for the job. And You got to be able to overthrow that idea, like you mentioned with the Kramer stuff right there. If you can't do that, you're not the guy.
Yeah, exactly. I think it just goes to this deeper, below the surface stuff that we're not seeing. I think there's a fascinating dynamic going on in the Vikings locker room right now. I'm not saying good, but fascinating. There is something not right in that locker room, whether it's the coach and the players, certain players, the players, kind of peeling off into different cliques and groups, something. There is something not right, and there's not a unifying person to get this team together anymore. There just isn't. I don't
disconnect.
think.
We used to call it the disconnect, remember?
Yeah.
That's the word I think we used on the show. It's really like the fog is lifting and everything's being revealed now. And first off, Clint Kubiak should not be coordinator for another game. And I'm not ripping on Kubiak. He's new. He's in over his head. I said it back in May when you asked me, and I said he won't make half the season.
Yeah.
He got a position that he's not ready for. He's not an offensive coordinator. So I don't want to sit here and bash him and say he's a 10-year guy that's screwing everything up. He doesn't know what he's doing, dude.
I don't think he does that right now.
10-year-old on a motocross bike and expect him to go out and beat people. He's not ready for it. He's not. But the fact that he's still there is that was it. That was Sunday was it. He shouldn't be calling another play for the Vikings. But Zimmer shouldn't be coaching another game. I don't know. That game was telling to me on a lot of levels.
And now you've got Adam Thielen mentioned something about if you don't have the right attitude, whether you're a coach or a player, you don't need to be here. I think it tells me there's people that are checked out. And I don't think he was singling out the head coach, maybe a coach on the staff. It just feels like what is being said publicly is about 10%, if that, of what is really going on in that locker room. I truly believe that. And it just seems like this thing is getting ready to boil up and just go nuclear. And if they lose a couple more games, I think it's going to get immensely ugly in Minnesota.
Well, if it gets immensely ugly in the next 2 weeks, how do you keep it all the same till January? I mean, come on.
I don't know. And because we're Vikings fans and we know things can always get worse, we learned that superstar defensive end Danielle Hunter, who was made whole by getting a renegotiated contract for his pec late first quarter, early second quarter in the Sunday night loss to Dallas, and he is now on IR, and he is out for the year, brother.
Devastating.
Huge loss.
Huge, Ted. Huge.
Yeah. The one thing you and I said, if you go back and watch our off-season shows, and if you have that much time, really go get a job first. But if you but after you get home from work, watch our shows because they're pretty funny, I think. We both said, I think almost every episode when we talked about defensive end or the Vikings defense, that Danielle Hunter was the key to the Vikings defense in 2021. Why did you feel that was the case, Drew?
Because the defensive line was so poor last year, and I knew it all. This defense relies on the pass rush. That's what it all comes down to. And him just being on the field causes the offense to have to scheme differently to compensate for him.
Yes.
Chip block, extra back, or whatever. That is the one guy, and he's a game changer. He reminds me of Bruce Smith. I haven't seen many players that have broken tape down that look as good as Danielle Hunter does on the way his technique. He's just a special football player, generation football player. Coming back this season, I was thinking, this is going to be it. This is going to be one of the big difference makers. As long as he's out there, we're going to have a shot because he can change a game on a couple plays. Now, the defensive line, the rest of the season, Ted, is going to be hodgepodge, mismatch, throw a guy here, throw a guy there, spell this guy, run this guy in.
And the thing was, he was having a great bounce back year. I thought he was a strong contender for comeback player of the year. He was making a huge impact. I mean, the Vikings had already equaled their sack number from last year through 7 games, largely because of him. And not just his numbers, but like you had said, his presence. He's one of those guys that where offenses have to know where he's lined up on every play and how are you going to account for him? Because if you don't, he will wreck you. And now he's off the field. And there's really now, Eric Kendricks is pretty good, but I don't know that there's a player that an opposing offensive coordinator fears like Danielle Hunter.
Difference of making a great team, especially defensively, is game planning for different individuals. The Purple People Eaters were so dominant because you had to game plan for Page and Eller, Matt Blair, Paul Krause. You had to game plan for each guy. It's impossible to game plan for them all. The Vikings have 2. They used to have 3, but I think Harrison Smith's fallen off. It was Hunter and Kendricks. Those are the guys you specifically have to game plan for. Now one's out the door.
Yeah. And now keep this in mind. Chris Thomason tweeted this out. Danielle Hunter's rework contract from last spring calls for an $18 million bonus to be picked up or not picked up by the 5th day of the new league year in March 2022. So the Vikings are going to have a huge decision to make. They can either redo the deal. If they don't pick up that bonus, then he'll be released. Things just got a lot cloudier for guys that I thought would be key guys. On one hand, he's missed 26 of his last 33 games when this injury is done with, and that's a lot.
Yeah, but are the injuries a pattern injury? Like guys like Michael Bennett hurt every other week? For weeks? Is it really a pattern? Is he injury prone, or is it just a freak neck thing and then a torn pec? Is it not? Is it individual of themselves?
I think they're individual things, but it's definitely a factor now. I mean, he's had 2 season-ending injuries in consecutive years, and that's not good. There's a lot of uncertainty surrounding this franchise after that loss to Dallas, and it just feels like things are building up. And this kind of leads me to my Drew Bunting question of the week. A few minutes ago, Drew, you said this loss felt different, and I agree with you. I think that's one of the reasons we didn't record when we normally do, because it was just a different kind of feeling after this loss. So my question is this a franchise-altering loss for the Minnesota Vikings?
Yes, this feels different. We talk about gut feelings. I think it's all going to come to a head this Sunday when we play the Ravens. This is a game we're supposed to bounce back from. I have a feeling we're going to get run off the field. And right now, the Vikings are very fragile as an organization. And when you start seeing the tweets and things like Thielen said, that's the last straw before the camel's back breaks. What's a straw on the camel's back? Is that how it goes?
The straw that met the rubber on the road is the same.
What did you just say?
Okay, it did feel, it feels like it's over and let's start on something new. But Hunter, if you're going to get rid of everything, I would probably take a chance on keeping him. He's that much of a generational guy. It's hard to find guys like that, Ted.
That's kind of where I am right now, yeah.
That's the one guy I would take a chance on. Everybody else, I mean, you mentioned last week your list, very limited. You protected like 5 guys, but you said everybody else could go to hell.
Yeah, and Hunter was one of the guys I keep. And I still feel that way even after.
I do too, because it's when he's on, you can't find guys in the draft like that, Ted, normally. I mean, it's just, there's something about him that's just way different. Like Bruce Smith.
He's a game changer.
When you watch Chris Doman play, you were saying to yourself, Ted, I know you said it, saying I've never seen this before.
No, a game changer is the only way you can describe Danielle Hunter. I would argue that a new regime would want to have him as one of their cornerstone guys that they kind of rebuild and try and get back into contention with. But that's just me. I agree with you. I think it's a franchise-altering loss because if you're a team that goes into the season thinking we are all in, you cannot lose at home to a backup quarterback against a team you think you might meet later on in the playoffs.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
You can't. You cannot. You can't.
And they did. And there are people that are still trying to defend Mike Zimmer, saying the defense played well. They only gave up 20 points. I'm sorry. When Cooper Rush throws for 300 yards and your defense is like this soft zone coverage for almost the entire evening, and you let guys make plays, at some point it's going to burn you. That's not good coaching. It just isn't.
The culture, Ted. The culture is gloom. When we took that lead 16-13, the thought process should be, it don't matter, it's over. They're not going to drive the field on us. That's not our thought process as fans, as a team. When it went up 16-13 and the Vikings couldn't put the kill shot touchdown on, all of us, including Toonces, went 2016 Dallas, drive the field, touchdown. And I'm not alone. A lot of people thought that's not the way the thinking should be. It shouldn't be like that, Ted.
It shouldn't,
but it is.
That last drive, the officiating crew put on Minnesota Vikings jerseys and would have would have damn near carried the ball across the goal line if they could have. That was like the only thing they didn't do. They set the Vikings on the doorstep, and the Vikings could not score a touchdown to win the game. And then we all knew Cooper Rush is going to drive down the field, and they're going to score a touchdown and win, and that's exactly what happened.
It was Cooper Rush, Ted. Cooper Rush. And I want you to go back and, after we're done tonight, watch one play. Watch that Zeke Elliott play towards the end that got him the first down.
That was a big boy play.
That's a guy who wants to get the first down against a team who, whatever, we don't care. That's one guy wanting it more. You watch that play. That is one guy wanting it more when Elliott made that play.
Got a quick question.
Yeah.
What school did Ezekiel Elliott go to?
Okay, did we remind you we're doing Toonces Trivia tonight? We're doing trivia tonight with Toonces.
Cooper Rush. All right, so the Vikings are in a bad place right now, and it's an uncertain future. This is just the Vikings are in a weird place, and it just feels like it's teetering. Maybe if they get a couple wins, it can go back, but it doesn't feel like this team is capable of doing that.
Maybe if they get a couple wins, and then they lose a couple more, and maybe they get another couple wins.
I know.
They go 8-9, and then we make excuses. And then next year, we get Zimmer, well, it's going to be different. And then we start out 0-4. Then we win a couple games. Then we win a couple more. Then we lose a couple more. Stop! Stop, Ted. Stop the madness, Ted. It's done.
Oh, I'm with you. But
yes, no toughness, no stomping on people. I'm done being the king of the dipshit teams. I'm done, Ted.
The thing is, I'm kind of like the leader, yeah. Kind of like the king of the dipshit.
I think drastic changes are ahead.
Then do it now. Why not do it now? Put Keenan McCardle in there. Who cares if we lose 4 or 6 more games? Give us something to be motivated for. Give us something to hang our hats on. Give us some kind of futuristic thing rather than Mike Zimmer saying we need to play better and these lame-ass press conferences. It's over.
It is.
It's done. Everybody join in with me. It's done. It's
done.
It's done. Well, you know, Epstein used to bring notes from his mother to school for Mr. Cotter. Pretty soon Mr. Cotter would say, I'm not buying this, Epstein. I'd have Juan Epstein as my head coach right now.
Epstein, huh?
Juan Luis Pedro Felipe de Huevos Epstein from San Juan.
I kind of think they're going to let Zimmer coach the rest of the year unless something like in 2010 happened with Childress and he just got blown out at home by the Packers and Wilf had seen enough. I think that's a distinct possibility. I don't know that it'll be this week in Baltimore, but if the Vikings lose, I think we are definitely on Zimmer watch. I was kind of surprised he wasn't canned after the Cowboys game, to be quite honest. But here we are.
I mean, what do we do this year to try to get to the playoffs?
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs.
Playoffs?
Playoffs?
Even in a watered-down NFC with 7 teams and 17 games, sure, anything's possible. But look yourself in the eye or in the mirror and say, really, even if this team were to back in and get the 6th or 7th seed, are they a serious contender? Can they go and win 3 hard road games? No, they can't. They can't. They're not going to beat Green Bay, Tampa Bay, and maybe the Saints, whoever you think your top 3 teams are, right? They're just not, man. They're not. And so if that's not going to happen, then do something.
They're getting all their air back. Do something. Do something. Do something.
And I don't know what that something is for the rest of this year. I mean, I don't think you're gaining anything by firing Zimmer and replacing him with like Andre Patterson and firing Kubiak and replacing him with a guy like Keenan McCardle. I don't know that that's going to do anything other than shuck out the jive and bring in the love, maybe.
You're giving us a little bit of something to hang our hat on and say it's over. We're going on to something else. That's what it gives us.
If you'd have won a Super Bowl, I think maybe he'd be given a little bit more credit or maybe an extra year or two, kind of like Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh's had a couple of down years. But you have the faith that he can get you back to where you need to be. Mike Zimmer hasn't done that. He's won 2 playoff games, one on an absolute miracle play at the end of the game, one an overtime win. And that's
not enough,
it, man. You know, the closer he got to the Super Bowl, the closer he flew to the sun, Icarus, and you fell to the earth burning at the end of a short end of a 38-7 score. So, I mean, Mike Zimmer doesn't have the credibility a guy like Mike Tomlin has, for example.
And another thing is, he doesn't endear himself to people, so we want to back him either.
Not anymore, no.
He throws guys under the bus. His attitude is, blame everybody. He doesn't take the accountability, so he's hard to back.
He's Parcells without the occasional humor and Super Bowl titles.
I want to buy tonight with 10% a day around here in Jersey, where I come from. That's called the juice. Jumbo, I don't want you to get nervous because that's not Michigan State down there. That's Philadelphia, okay, kid? Not Michigan State.
And that's a grumpy old man, is what it is. It just is.
Here's another thing I'm worried about, Ted.
What's that?
I'm worried about this, and I wanted to get this is a Ted question of the week. It seems like if you get rid of Zimmer and keep Spielman, you've kept the problem. I think they both need to go. So if Zimmer got fired but Spielman stayed, I feel personally, I don't think that remedies anything. How do you feel about one or the other or both of them going?
Oh, Mr. Carter. Oh, Mr. Carter. Oh, answer me. Call on me, Mr. Carter.
No, it's Mr. Carter.
I don't think this organization truly moves forward, unless you have a new GM and a head coach in place. People who want to defend Rick Spielman with great draft picks and all this and 2015 draft class and all that. Oh, okay, fine, that's fair. He's made some good picks. He's signed some good free agents.
Every GM has made good picks, Ted.
But he's been the GM since 2012, and for every single year over the last 10 years, the offensive line has sucked. He has tried to fix it. I'm not saying he has ignored it. He signed free agents. He's drafted players. But it wasn't until 2017 and 2018 timeframe when he actually just started using high-end draft capital to go get offensive linemen. And a couple of those guys were bust. Pat Elflein was a bust. I don't think Garrett Bradbury is going to work out. But the absolute failure to develop a good offensive line, the absolute failure to get yourself a franchise quarterback, and yeah, he had a couple bad breaks there too, I get it, are fireable offenses to me.
He had a couple bad breaks. Really? Talk about Ngakoue. Talk about that ridiculous Chris Herndon trade. That is dumb.
And the last couple of years, he'd made panic trades. If the Vikings are going to start over, they need to start over. And starting over means a new GM and a new head coach. They could flame out and hire the next Rich Kotite. I get it. But you're not going anywhere with Mike Zimmer. You might as well, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars, as Casey Kasem would say.
Keep your feet in the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
And go get a guy. Go get a guy like Matt LaFleur and go 13-3 back-to-back years. And don't settle for being good every other year. Settle for being good every freaking year and go to the playoffs. And because you're not going to win a Super Bowl unless you get to the playoffs. So whatever. I'm done. I'm done with the people say, well, how do you know that the guy is going to be better than Mike Zimmer? He might not be, but
you can't be scared like that.
But you can't be scared. You cannot be. No. All right. So that does it for the state of the Vikings, which is absolutely horrible right now. But, maybe they'll get a couple wins and we'll be back on track. Now it is time for a hashtag Nobody Cares About Your Fantasy segment.
Let's do it.
Drew Bunting, how did we do this weekend against the boys over at Vikings Uncensored?
Ted Glover, I'm glad you asked me that. What's that whipping sound? We won our third straight game, beating VU 161.8 to 153.25, and that came without me even having Calvin Ridley. So we beat VU. We're up 5-3 on the season. That's our third straight victory, and Ryan Johnson and Lance Bruns give it a better shot next week. Maybe you'll be luckier. We won.
Yeah, good luck, boys. You're going to need it. In our season-long fantasy football contest between Toonces, Drew, and myself, I believe, Drewster, I won.
You did win because Kelsey couldn't get his head out of his butt. Dude, I only needed 8 points. All you people out there that voted for my team, Kelsey needed 8 points to beat Ted, and he got 4. He only got 4, and he fumbled. So Ted Glover wins, and the 7 people who voted for Ted Glover, as we see their names, good job for you 7.
And that gives me 3 wins on the year. Drew has 3 wins, and Ruby has 2. So nobody's really running away with this. And we just showed you the weekly winners. Now we're going to put up the season standings for this contest, and we'll explain the contest in just a minute. Nobody's running away with that one either. We're not quite halfway through the season, and what is it? It looks like 2 wins separate first place from everybody else for the most part.
The 2 guys who had 4 wins both voted for my team, so everybody else got to move up a notch and catch it. It's going to be a great race. Keep entering because we got some good prizes down the road.
So what are we playing and what are we entering for? So we are playing the season-long fantasy football contest. Each week, Drew, Ruby, and myself will pick a quarterback, a running back, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end. We can only pick that player one time throughout the season. We're using a standard PPR scoring format, and whoever has the most points among the 5 players we pick wins for that week. What you guys need to do is decide. We'll announce our teams here shortly. You decide which team you think is going to win for that week. And in the comments below in our YouTube channel here, put Team Ted, Team Drew, or Team Toonces. Don't put it on our Facebook page. Don't add us on Twitter. Let us know here in the comments below. If you pick the right team, you get a point. The team that has the most points at the end of the season wins this really cool framed plaque of Minnesota Vikings cards. 8 all-time Minnesota Vikings great players. Ahmad Rashad's in there. I believe Chuck Foreman's in there. Carl Eller's in there. Just some great players. If you don't collect cards, it's a really cool piece of memorabilia for, to put in your Vikings room. If you have kids or you want to get your kids collecting cards, this is a great thing. They'll really like them. So
it really is. It really is an awesome gift.
And we have a mystery prize that we're also giving away.
Yeah, we have a mystery prize, but like the mystery, Ted, we like to keep it a mystery.
Yeah. So, and the mystery means you don't know what it is. And because I don't know what it is either. They're not even telling me. So for the players we picked, the only rule we have is that we are not allowed. We just decided amongst ourselves that we will not pick any players from the Thursday night game. This week it's the Jets and the Colts. I say that we don't pick the Thursday night game because there could be a player that goes off on the Thursday night game and scores a lot of points and maybe possibly skew the results for that week. But it's the Jets and the Colts. We shouldn't have a problem this week, but we're still going to remain consistent throughout the year and not pick any players.
True.
All right. So since I won, should I go first, I guess, this week?
You go for you haven't gone first for a couple of weeks. Tell us your team first, Ted Glover.
All right. This week, my quarterback is Joe Burrow, Ohio State legend.
Whoa. Are you really hanging your hat on Joe Burrow being an Ohio State guy?
No, I'm just kidding. Oh. My running back is Najee Harris. My 1 wide receiver is Keenan Allen of the Los Angeles Chargers. My 2nd wide receiver is Amari Cooper of the Dallas Cowboys. And my tight end is Zach Ertz of the Philadelphia, Arizona Cardinals. What do you got this week, Drew?
Aaron Rodgers is my quarterback. Aaron Jones is my running back. Wide receiver, I too also have Keenan Allen. My other wide receiver is Justin Jefferson. And my tight end is my buddy Mark Andrews, who stole the win with his 43 points he made for Toonces. It's wow. Toonces money. Toonces money right there. Mark Andrews is my tight end. That's my lineup.
All right. Toonces, who do you have this week for your fantasy team?
All right. I have Lamar Jackson, Dalvin Cook, CeeDee Lamb, Mike Williams, and Zach Ertz.
I think we've got 3 pretty good lineups, and I think some Vikings fans might be biased. I'm not saying I'm going to have the most picks this week, but you got Lamar Jackson, and you got 2 guys from the Packers. Ooh, I don't know. All right, so once again, Ruby's going to put all the players or the 3 teams up on the board, up on the screen. Take a look at who you think is going to win and write your comment down below. Team Ted, Team Toonces, Team Drew. If you pick the correct team, you get a point, and if you get the most points at the end of the year, you win a couple of neat prizes. Now it is time for our preview segment, ladies and gentlemen. We got a friend of ours dropping in to say hi. Hello, everybody. Robert W. Farnsworth here. After a spooky Halloween night, the Minnesota Vikings take the Minneapolis Zephyr to the East Coast in Chesapeake Bay to take on the shifty Lamar Jackson and the only Harbaugh with any coaching acumen whatsoever. John, can the Minnesota Vikings right their longboat, or will the Ravens say never more? We'll find out. All right. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate that.
We don't even have to do the preview after that.
3-4 Vikings, 5-2 Ravens.
Oh,
I was doing this preview and I'm thinking to myself, wow, in a lot of categories. Start off with quarterback. Just go. This isn't going to take me very long, any of these categories.
Lamar Jackson averages 416 scrimmage yards a week, 340 in the air, 80 on the ground, 416. Now, I know when we do these previews, we don't like to look at the whole season wrapped up. It's just a game. The game, this game, Ravens, Vikings. So even though Jackson may be, the better overall quarterback, it's dependent on this game. So I try to look at it from head-to-head competition. And with that, I'm still giving it to Jackson. He's got too many. He's too dynamic. He could do too much of a playmaker over Kirk Cousins, and I trust him more.
The Vikings, I don't think, do very well against mobile quarterbacks. See what happened against them against Kyler Murray with them. I think Lamar Jackson's in for a big day Sunday.
He's coming off a terrible game against the Bengals where he was 15 for 31. He got sacked 5 times.
Yeah.
He was throwing his helmet on the sideline, very frustrated.
Ain't going to happen this week with Daniil Hunter out.
Yeah, my check mark goes to the Ravens with the quarterback.
Baltimore's running game. They lost 2 guys like in the preseason, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, and still their top 5 rushing unit. Now a lot of that is because Lamar Jackson makes plays on the ground, but old friend Latavius Murray, there are a couple other guys with Lamar Jackson. That's a better running game than the Vikings. They get my check.
Ravens are 3rd in the NFL, 150 yards a game rushing. Vikings are 10th in the NFL with 124 yards a game. It's hard to, when you start looking at how each team uses the running game, it's kind of similar, but I give my check mark to the Ravens also because it's just, you add those yards up that the quarterback gives you, it just makes the overall running game much more dynamic, I think, than the Vikings. Lamar Jackson has 36 more yards than Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
Baltimore, check mark.
What do you got for the passing game?
Well, Ted, now that we have Luke Stalker signed up and activated, I think that can only swing the pendulum our way, can it?
I think
With
so.
Luke Stalker signed up, I don't know. Seriously, though, Hollywood Brown, Mark Andrews have gotten 50% of the team's receiving targets. That's really the 2 guys you got to stop are Brown and Andrews. But when you look at the rest of the receivers, I mean, Sammy Watkins, I think is going to be hurt. I don't think he's going to play.
Rashad Bateman's coming back, though. Rookie Rashad Bateman's back.
Gopher Rashad Bateman is on his way back. They got a lot of good receivers there in Baltimore. Brown and Andrews are really the 2 targets. They have 9 of the 10 receiving touchdowns on this team, those 2 guys. I don't know about the Vikings passing attack, especially coming off that game. I'm still going to give the check mark to the Ravens, and I don't want to, but I have to.
I am too. I think Andrews and Hollywood Brown are going to be matchup nightmares for the Vikings, especially Andrews. After last week, I don't know what to think of the Vikings passing game. They've got 2 world-class wide receivers. They got a quarterback that can sling it. They choose not to. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to pick the Ravens.
A little bit surprising is Baltimore's screen game. John Harbaugh has always been a big screen guy. He completely changed this year. They've only thrown 20 passes to the back.
Offensive line, I'm giving to Baltimore. Just them. They got Andrew Villanueva, the longtime vet who played in Pittsburgh all those years. Kevin Zeitler's a pretty good player. Yeah, Baltimore.
They got 2 really good guards. Bozeman, their center, really good player. He has a bad back, so he's kind of questionable right now, but still, you got to give the check mark to them just for experience and what they bring to the table. The Vikings still are a work in progress, Ted. They started falling apart late in that Dallas game, but they still don't have a lot of games together. It's a big test for them in the front 7 against Baltimore this week. It really is. The offensive line's going to be tested, but I can't give the Vikings the check on the O-line. I give it to the Ravens.
I mean, I thought Christian Jerisaw was throwing dudes around like a rag doll. That was good to see, at least, running the ball. But
he looked fantastic.
But Garrett Bradbury is just getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. I just don't think he's the answer anymore. Drew, tell me about Baltimore's defensive line.
Baltimore's? Well, ours is with Hunter gone. I don't think I'll be able to give him the check the rest of the season. That's a devastating loss.
It is.
Baltimore on the flip side, they got some big boys up there. Calais Campbell, Matt Abwike, and big Brandon Williams at nose tackle. They got a really stout defensive line, but their defensive line and their linebackers work really well together. Check mark to Baltimore's defensive line with Hunter being out.
I'm giving both the defensive line, and since I take linebackers first, I'll give that too, because I think the front 7 is more of I don't want to say a single unit, but overall they're 4th in the NFL against the rush. And you mentioned guys like Campbell. You got Josh Burns and Patrick Queen as the linebackers. The Ravens' front 7 is really good. The Vikings are reeling with the loss of Daniil Hunter, how his production You can't replace his production, but now you're going to have, and they traded Stephen Weatherly. And so you're looking at Kenny Willekes, maybe Patrick Jones II. We'll see. I just think it's going to be a tall order for the Vikes. So I give both the defensive line and the linebackers to Baltimore here.
I give them both a check, too. And dealing with Lamar Jackson, Vikings got a big problem on their hands.
What do you got for linebackers?
Patrick Queen, Justin Houston, two guys right there that are like savage beasts. They're monsters. Not to mention Bowser. Not the great Bowser from Sha-Na-Na, Ted, but Bowser, the other linebacker. They got a good group of linebackers there in Baltimore. It's hard to say that the Vikings can even stand up to that. What, Kendricks, Barr, and Vigil? The depth is really starting to show now. They get the check mark, Baltimore, for the linebackers.
What about the secondary?
Come on, Ted. The secondary, Vikings got torched by Dallas. Both Lamb and Cooper had over 100 yards. You were spot on with your assessment of Harrison Smith. Something's not right with that guy. Woods had a hell of a game.
Yeah.
Baltimore is the worst pass defense in the league.
They are. The absolute worst.
The absolute worst. And they got Marlon Humphrey back there.
Mm-hmm.
They got good corners. I don't know what the deal is. The Vikings rank 18th in pass defense. Baltimore's last. Well, they have 4 guys on IR, Ted.
Yeah.
Baltimore secondary. Maybe that's why. I feel I have to give the Vikings a check mark, and I really hate doing it, but I got to give them the check mark for the secondary.
This is the only check mark I'm giving the Vikings, simply for the fact they are less bad than Baltimore's secondary. The red zone, I'm giving to Baltimore. Their red zone defense is phenomenal. They've only given up 9 touchdowns and 20 red zone tries. That's impressive.
Second in the NFL, Ted.
Second in the NFL. And when you look at the troubles the Vikings have had getting into the end zone, even with massive assists from the referees, this is going to be problematic for the Vikings on Sunday, I think. So I give the check to Baltimore.
Dude, the red zone for the Vikings was on fire the first 4 weeks. And for some reason, it has just puckered up like a frog's beehole in a blizzard. It's bad. It's not good. Something's happened there. They're just not good in the red zone. They need to turn it around. But until then, I'm not going to give them the check mark. Baltimore's been in the red zone 22 times and has 16 touchdowns. Good for third in the NFL. Third on offense, second on defense. Check mark to the Ravens for the red zone for me. Special teams, what do you got?
Well, Justin Tucker's the best kicker in NFL history. Made a, 67-yarder against Detroit earlier this year?
It was 97 yards, Ted.
Ravens.
Me too. 14 of 15 on his field goals this year. Tucker's he's been a weapon there for how many years now?
Forever, it feels like.
And, Harbaugh actually, as a head coach, puts effort into his special teams. And he cares a lot about that. With Tucker, he's always a big weapon. They get my check mark, Baltimore.
Coaching. John Harbaugh. Next. I mean, the dude's won a Super Bowl. He's won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco, but wasn't afraid to draft a guy like Lamar Jackson and bring in guys that can run an offense that maximize Lamar Jackson's skill. Remember, everybody said Lamar Jackson can't play quarterback in the NFL. He should be a wide receiver. John Harbaugh, I think, was almost as insulted as Lamar Jackson was. And look what happened. He turned Lamar Jackson into an MVP because the guy knows how to coach. He knows how to look at his players and see what they're good at and designs offenses and defenses around the strengths of his players. He's not a square peg into a round hole guy. I'm very envious that the Ravens have a coach like John Harbaugh. He gets my check mark hands down.
He is 50 times the head coach Mike Zimmer is, and you can argue with me all day about it. Harbaugh all the way. This is an easy check mark. It took me 5 seconds. I didn't even really need to look at this.
Intangibles, Drewster.
The Ravens are going to get my check mark here, Ted, on the intangibles because, like I said, they're at home. They're coming off just a terrible, embarrassing loss to the Bengals. It was one of the worst losses they've had at home in recent memory. They lost 41-17, and they not only lost, Harbaugh's team got dominated. They are angry. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for the Vikings. 2 weeks. And they're angry. That's got to be an intangible. The Vikings are going to be walking into an angry team. It's probably going to execute well and probably going to keep their foot on the gas. So they get my intangibles there. At this point, the Vikings seem shell-shocked.
That's a good word. That's a very good word, yeah.
My intangibles go to Baltimore.
Same here. Road game. The Vikings are reeling. The Ravens are a mad football team that's had 2 weeks to stew on an embarrassing home loss. I guarantee you that's not going to happen again. Yeah, intangibles. I give it all to Baltimore as well. What do you got for Jumo this week, my man?
This is going to be tough. Like I said, this is usually a place where the Vikings can bounce back and have a good performance after a debacle. I don't think it's going to happen this week. I think dam's going to break, Ted. Like Pink Floyd said, and if the cloud bursts, thunder in your ears. You shout and no one seems to hear. That's what I don't see it ending well for the Vikings this Sunday.
I don't either. I got my cup, and it's time to get with the right Reverend Jones. I'm looking at my purple Kool-Aid. Smells a little funny this week. There might be something in there. Take a drink. Let's take a drink and see what it is.
Oh, man, here it comes.
I believe it's cyanide. I'm not feeling good about this game. I can usually talk myself into a Vikings win. When you look at what happened last Sunday night against the Cowboys, the team has what they've said publicly and how things are going, and the loss of Danielle Hunter, and the Ravens have had 2 weeks to get ready for the Vikings coming off an embarrassing home loss. This just almost feels like a perfect storm for a complete and utter blowout for the Ravens. I hope it doesn't happen, but it would not surprise me if it does. I don't have a good feeling about this game at all.
It's hard to have a good feeling about it when you watch a team that was 1 for 13 on third down.
Yeah.
Really, Ted? 1 for 13? And I think they kept the Dallas running game in check only because Cooper Rush wasn't going to run on you. He's a statue.
Yeah.
Now they got the Lamar Jackson element thrown into that mix.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tough week, Ted, and I'm feeling like you guys are going to get run out of the stadium. I hope not.
It's going to steamroll, and it's going to be bad. So that's our weekly preview. We're going to take a quick commercial, and we will come back with our new twist on trivia this week. It's going to be fun.
If you want to become a sweat hog, here's how. With Welcome Back, Carter. Be up your nose with the Rubber Hose game.
Epstein, you're in a class by yourself, so what are you doing here?
You're going back 4 spaces, man. And you got to give ranks and take ranks.
Back in the class for you.
And the first to collect all the words wins.
Up your nose with the Rubber Hose.
Welcome Back, Carter. The Up Your Nose with the Rubber Hose game by Ideal.
To get ahead in business these days, you've got to be fast. You not only have to be fast, you have to be faster than the next guy. And as fast as you are, there's always someone else who thinks he's faster than you. And the faster you go, the faster everyone else tries to get ahead of you, and the faster you have to go to keep up with the fastest. And no matter how fast you go, everyone everywhere is always trying to be faster. So you have to be really fast, tremendously fast, incredibly fast, or you fall behind someone else who is faster. Faster than Jimmy, faster than Joey, faster than Janie, and faster than
To get ahead in business these days, you have to go with a company who invented the whole idea of fast. Federal Express. Why fool around with anyone else?
Hoppity toe, lickety whack, flippity flop, Jiminy criminy, whoopity scoopity, zoom it, move it, boom it, boom it.
Welcome to Toonces Trivia.
Aren't you going to ask me questions?
Oh my God! Did Toonces cut me? Did it twice. Did it again.
Oh,
that's beautiful, isn't it, Ted?
That's
Toonces
awesome.
Cutting off the Drister. How you doing, Ted?
I'm doing good. Toonces, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to the questions.
Yeah, so this week we're doing a little twist on our trivia. It's still Toonces Trivia, but this week Drew and I are asking the questions, and we've got a gamut of topics to include the Vikings Ravens history. I even got a Bon Jovi question in here for her.
I have one of those too. for Toonces.
Alrighty.
Every 40 episodes we're going to do this for you, Toonces, just so you know.
Do you want to ask the first question, Drew?
Yeah, we'll go back and forth. Okay, Toonces, you ready?
I'm ready.
In Roman law, otherwise known as the 12 Tables, what year did this start in? I'm just kidding.
I was going to say, what?
What?
That's not my first question. What college did Randy Moss attend? I'll try to do my fine with that.
Marshall.
All right, I'm going to put you down for a victory there. You get 1 point.
Ruby, are you ready? This is a question from your favorite TV show, as I have been told, The Office.
Yes, I'm ready.
So this episode was called Casual Friday, and in it, the very opening scene, Kevin was bringing in a big pot of chili. And if you'll remember, he spilled it. And the whole time he was doing a voiceover about how he brings in chili once a year. And he said the key to his famous chili is to undercook what ingredient?
The onions.
Very good. Yes. Good job.
Damn.
And while he's saying that, he's trying to scoop the chili up that he spilled with a paper thing from the desk. It was hysterical.
My next one is another Randy Moss question. I know he's your favorite player. Who threw Randy Moss his first Vikings touchdown, and who threw Randy Moss his final Vikings touchdown? Which two quarterbacks?
Brad Johnson.
That's correct.
And Brett Favre.
Holy crap! You got a
bam! Good job. This is my last office trivia question. When Michael Scott goes to New York, where is his favorite place to get New York style pizza while in New York City?
Isn't it Sbarro's?
It is.
How do you know that?
It is.
Toonces has shown us a thing or two, Ted, about how to answer trivia.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Fire. I have an office question. What did Michael Scott pretend to fire Pam Beasley over in season 1?
For stealing paper clips.
Oh, stealing Post-its.
Oh, Post-its. Okay.
That's almost like getting a win, though.
Close enough.
In Randy Moss's time with the Vikings, he wore number 84. But in his rookie season, during the preseason, he wore a different number. What number was that?
Ooh. I'm going to guess 81.
No.
18.
It was 18.
Oh,
yep,
okay.
18.
Yep. You got me on that one.
I got one. You get 1 point for each of these answers. Bon Jovi has 15 studio albums. You get a point for every one you can name.
Oh my God, are you serious?
I would not kid you. That was the first question.
Self-titled.
That's right. That was number 1.
Slippery When Wet.
That's right. That's right.
New Jersey.
That's correct.
Keep the Faith.
That's correct.
Oh my gosh.
Then they get kind of lame. He kind of lost his touch.
Yeah. Wow. I'm totally blanking on anything after that.
That's okay. I only got 4 myself. The only early one you missed was some album called 7800 Fahrenheit.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But you got all the rest of the early ones. The other ones you couldn't get after that were These Days, Crush, Bounce, Have a Nice Day, Lost Highway, The Circle, What About Now, Burning Bridges, This House Is Not For Sale, and his last one was 2020, which was released in
2018.
You got 4, Toonces.
Wow, I clearly stopped listening to them a long time ago.
I think the last 8 or 9 of those, you're just trying to keep the mortgage paid, Ted.
All right. Here's my Bon Jovi question. John Bon Jovi used to be an owner of an Arena Football League team. What was the name of that Arena Football League team?
Probably something in New Jersey.
I'll give you the name of the city. It was not New Jersey. I'll even give you the name of the city. It was Philadelphia.
Oh my God, I can't remember the Arena Football League names. I can't remember the names.
Philadelphia Soul.
I think it was also owned by Ron Jaworski, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Yeah.
Bon Jovi.
Sure was.
All right, I'm starting to suck. Give me something easy.
All right, that's what she said. Since you've been a fan since 1998, what's the highest point total the Minnesota Vikings have scored?
556.
No, the highest points of one game. Sorry.
Oh, 50.
That's right.
Nice.
50-10.
Against who?
Yes, that was it, right?
Jacksonville.
That's right. Wow. Holy crap, Toonces. Nice comeback one there.
All right, Toonces. In 2013, the Vikings and Ravens played a wild 29-26 game in the snow in Baltimore, and 5 touchdowns were scored in the final 2 minutes and 5 seconds of that game. The Vikings had 2 of those. Just name one of those Vikings players that scored a touchdown, but you get a bonus point if you can name them both. One was a long kickoff return, and one was a long run.
Long kickoff return, Toonces. Come on. That's a good hint.
One of them wasn't Percy Harvin, was it?
It was not. He was the guy that replaced Percy Harvin, and it was his rookie season.
Nate Burleson?
He's still in the league.
No. He's still in the league. He's now with a team in the southern part of the country.
Are you talking about Cordell Patterson?
Yes. Yes.
Was the other one Adrian Peterson?
It was not. Peterson was injured, and this was the Great White Hope from Stanford. Yeah.
Toby Gerhardt?
Yes.
There you go. Toby Gerhardt.
Yes, that's
that
right.
was it.
Thanks, Drew.
Sure. Anything I can do to help. My next question. What was the name of Dwight on The Office? Dwight's pet porcupine.
God, I don't remember him having a pet porcupine.
Remember when Jim did the prank on him and had it in his drawer? Had the porcupine in the drawer?
Oh. Yeah, he got me on that one.
Henrietta.
That's right. That's right.
The Baltimore Ravens have built a statue for Ray Lewis outside their stadium. How many guys did Ray Lewis allegedly kill outside of an Atlanta nightclub the week of a Super Bowl?
3.
I thought it was 2, but we'll give you credit. Because it's all allegedly and nobody really knows.
That's the best question of the whole trivia right there. I love it. Toonces, give me 5 head coaches for the Vikings that aren't Mike Zimmer.
Leslie Frazier, Mike Tice, Dennis Green, Fred Grant, and Les Steckel.
Holy crap.
Wow, good job.
No hesitation at all on that.
This is my last question. What is the purpose of a tail rotor in a helicopter? And you don't have to be technical, just what does a tail rotor do?
Is this really the question?
Yeah, honestly, it's the question.
I'm going to guess that it helps with the direction that the helicopter is going in.
It does, very much so. It does, and it keeps, so when you have the main rotor blade turning, if you don't have something to counter it, the body of the helicopter would spin in the opposite direction. So the tail rotor keeps that from happening, and you also use it with the pedals to turn the helicopter. Very good. Good job. Now, I have one bonus question. What is your favorite helicopter, and why is it either the CH-47 or the MH-53?
It is the MH-53 because me and Drew spent like 4 months tracking the MH-370 airline that went down in the Indian Ocean.
We did.
Okay.
We know right where it is. About to end my question tonight. It's an office question because I know you love that show. You get 3 guesses, which means you get 2 mulligans. What was the most watched episode of The Office? It had 23 million viewers and is the only episode to go over 20 million viewership-wise.
Jim and Pam's wedding.
That is not correct.
Really?
It was the one when Jim and Pam illegally downloaded a movie starring Jack Black.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
Yeah, do you know the name of it?
I don't.
Ruby, it's the one when Dwight stages the fire in the office to test the fire safety.
Yes, I would have never guessed that in a million years.
Okay. That was a lot of fun.
That was good.
That was a lot of fun.
That was good. It's definitely different being on the other end of it.
That's what she said.
Yep, I knew you were going to say that.
We'll throw Michael in there to end it right there. That was a lot of fun. Great questions, Ted. Excellent job.
You too. That was a lot of fun. All right, so I think Ruby won, though. She answered.
Oh, yeah, she was way over the majority vote there.
Yeah. Okay, so that'll put a bow on episode 40. Thanks to Gabe Kaplan and welcome back, Cotter. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for subscribing. Our subscriptions keep going up and up. Keep getting a lot of viewers. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for sending in questions. Got a great question from our good friend Tony Bell. Didn't get to tonight, but we've got it in the hopper, and we will answer it. It's a great question. We'll answer it in an upcoming episode. Thank you, Tony, for the question. Drew, thanks. Toonces, Liz, thanks for all the editing, all the great stuff you guys do to make the show go. We'll try and do better the next time. Drew, take us home.
It really is a lot of fun doing this, isn't it, Ted?
That is, yeah.
Every time I finish these shows, the rest of the night I'm having a great night. Thanks to everybody for watching our show. We hope you enjoy it. And we want you to be here for our live post-game show after the Vikings-Ravens clash on Sunday. It'd be nice to get you involved with that. We have prizes, and I know you like prizes, so tune in with us for our Vikings Rewind show with me and Ted and Toonces and the great Christopher Gates. Everything Ted just said. Thank you. Welcome back, Cotter. Don't forget to play our fantasy football trivia game. Vote on one of our teams, whichever one you think will win, so you can get yourself another point. And we'll see you Sunday. Until then, say goodnight, Ted.
Good night, Ted. Hey, puppy.